So I woke up a little bit late, as you can see by the clock here, 10:50, but we're gonna have breakfast anyway. So my normal breakfast is center cut bacon, 4 strips, with egg whites and fat-free cheese. A lot of you guys are gonna say, well, what is the whole egg bad? Why don't you eat the whole egg? You know, because there's all this good stuff in the egg yolk. It's not that I don't want to eat the whole egg. The reason I don't is when you're doing flexible dieting, you have to replace with something. So if I'm going to have higher fat from the bacon, okay, because it's going to be about 10 to 12 grams of fat. If I'm going to have higher fat with that, I have to reduce fat from somewhere else. So if I had, like say 6 whole eggs or 5 whole eggs, plus the fat I'm getting from the bacon, plus full fat cheese, you're talking about 35 or 40 grams of fat right there. That's a good chunk of my daily fat intake. So instead of doing that, I'm having the fat that I want from the bacon, okay, and then I'm reducing it in another place. So I'm reducing it by having the egg whites or the egg substitute egg beaters, and also having fat-free cheese. Now, if you say, you know what, I don't like bacon, I would rather have the full fat from the egg yolk, that's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to decide, everything is a trade-off, okay? If you decide to have something higher fat at one meal, if your total daily fat intake is 80 grams and you have 30 grams at one meal, you only have 50 grams left, and so that means at other meals it's going to have to be lower, okay? So it's all about how you trade out at one meal versus another, okay? So I put these strips down in the pan, and we're going to cook them. Usually takes a little bit. I'll weigh out my other stuff too. So each strip of center cut bacon is 3.5 grams of fat. So we're looking at 14 grams of fat total for these 4 strips. 0 carbs, 3 grams of protein. So we're looking at 12 grams of protein, 14 grams of fat. Once I've got that cooking, I'll grab a plate and I'll go ahead and weigh out my cheese. So I'll just do 1 serving of fat-free cheese here. 28 grams. Perfect, right, the money? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook these bacon strips up. A lot of people like bacon real crispy. I like it a little bit crispy, but I mostly like it soft. That's what she said. Once the bacon is done, I'll put the egg whites into the bacon grease because it tastes awesome that way. I'll have these ready to go. This cuts down my cook time. This is just my pretty standard breakfast every single day. I usually don't have really many carbs at breakfast, and the only reason being, not because I think carbs at breakfast are bad, or because I do carb backloading or any such nonsense, but because I tend to train later in the day, so I save my carbohydrate intake for later in the day when I'm going to better utilize them. So I got my cheese ready to go. Go ahead and make myself some coffee. I wasn't a big coffee drinker until I got out of college and started graduate school, and then I became quite the coffee drinker. So I kind of try to have multiple things going at once. That way I can cook things a little bit faster. My coffee will be ready by the time I'm done. Product placement. A little bit of carbon recover in before I start breakfast. Am I holding the label right? Now, one of the things that's popular recently is the idea that meat, and especially cured meat like bacon, is going to give you cancer. Right? There was a study or something from the World Health Organization where they said it increases your cancer risk by 18%. Well, keep in mind, it's not an 18% absolute increase, okay? It takes your risk from 5.5% to 6.5%. Now, the difference between 5.5 and 6.5% is 18%. It's a relative risk increase, okay? It's a big difference, right? So, and keep in mind, one of the reasons that meat's associated with cancer is, one, people who eat meat tend to exercise less. They tend to eat more total calories. They tend to eat less fruits and vegetables. They tend to just lead a less healthy lifestyle overall, okay? So, you want to keep in mind that association is not necessarily causation. So this bacon's almost done. What I usually do, because it's just easier, is I will take my egg whites, put them on my scale here, and zero it. Because it'll show me the negative number. So if I take this off, it'll show me how much came off. This bacon's done. Just take them out. I will take this. I've only got a little bit left in here, probably about an eighth of a carton. Right. Get back on. I use about 178 grams. I want about 350. 348. Good enough for government work. Coffee's done. You guys may have seen in my shopping video, I use the actual Splenda drops, okay, because these have actually 0 calories, whereas the packets, because they need a filler for the packet, there's about 0.7 to 0.8 grams of carbohydrate in each packet of zero calorie sweetener. But because it's less than 5 calories per packet, they can mark it as 0. So with it, whereas this is actually 0 calories. So if you're using 20 packets during the day, that's an extra 15 grams of carbohydrate you're not accounting for. Whereas this again is 0. And then I like the Walden Farms has a coffee creamer, French vanilla, 0 calorie. Sometimes I'll use real creamer too. Today's an off day from training, so I'm a little bit lower on calories. So I usually reduce my carbohydrate and fat intake by 20 to 25% on off days, based on my activity level. That's why I know it's about maintenance for me. So today I'll eat things that are probably a little bit lower calorie as opposed to on training days. So now what I'll do is I'll take my cheese, top it, and there's breakfast. About 55 grams of protein, 14 grams of fat, and about 5-ish grams of carbs. Bon appetit. Alright guys, so that's me cooking breakfast. You've gotten to see what I eat pretty much every day, and the reason why I eat it and how I cook it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned some useful tips.